And the Southern Central Freight keep on pushing my mug, and though they're running late without love, where would you be now? Na, na, na.
Well,
La,
all right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. If you could let us know in chat if you can see our screen and hear us, that would be super. And someone's saying, hey, listen to a mashup of Smash Mouth Walking on Sun and your music. Wow, I haven't I haven't heard Walking on the Sun in a long time. Smash Mouth, nice. So thank you everyone for being here today. I'm super excited that we have our guests of Kelly and Brett with training. They are extraordinary. They've been great coworkers over the years, and we're just it's great to have them with us on today's session. So Kelly, Brett, why don't you say hi and tell us something about yourselves if you want to, and then we can get underway.
Well, Brett, you feel free to go first. I know that you're out there and
Okay. Love to. Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Thanks to Annalisa, Kelly. Always a pleasure to work and meet with you too. I've been with Inside Real Estate for about 4 years. I've been training most of them, been involved with the CRM software for over 20, and I'm a practicing agent last 10 years or so. And really feel fortunate and grateful to work with such a great team and such a great product that can really make real estate a lot of fun. So thanks for having me on, Elisa, Kelly, and over to you.
I was so excited, Annalisa and Brett, when I heard that you were doing this particular training, because I love hashtags. I don't know why, but Brett once said it, and he calls it the magic bullet of KV Core. And so when you guys invited me to join this, I was like giddy. I was so excited, and thank you for having me. My name's Kelly. I've been a trainer here, like Brett, for about 4 years. Really fortunate to have been a part of the rollout of KV Core and been around even before that when we had our legacy platform conversion. That's where those hashtags started. And so I'm super excited to be here, Annalisa. Tell us what we're going to do today, because I can't wait.
Today is all about the elusive hashtag within KV Core. Some people have an idea of what a hashtag does overall in social media. You know, it's kind of a way you can group like things to like things or find similar things, every interest. And really, the KV Core hashtag lends itself to that context, as well as other amazing goodies. Basically, like the way I describe hashtags in KV Core is your entire smart CRM when you're on your dashboard, and we're in the new UI right here. So when you're in your smart CRM and you're looking at your entire database in here, this is like your giant metal filing cabinet of old, right? So you used to have a giant filing cabinet in your office, and it would hold all of your documents, and everything. When you're looking at these contacts like Shazia, Xander, etc., you'll see here there's these little italics, and these are the hashtags attached to a specific contact. It may help you to think of like your smart CRM as a giant cabinet, and every hashtag that you have is like you're dropping people into a manila folder so you can easily recognize who they are in your system and find them super quickly in your filter. And then they also lend themselves to ways of organization, tracking certain lending elements potentially, and your business analytics if you want to see how things performed with squeeze pages or landing pages. They can trigger a lot of different types of events that we'll talk about with smart campaigns and listing alerts. And I'm sure I'm missing other elements. Oh, the dialer list. You can make a smart CRM filter with hashtags for mass communication. So it lends itself to a lot of different types of facets in KV Core. And I thought Kelly and Brett would be really great to speak to it because they train people every day. You might have even had them for your agent success plan training, so they might be familiar to you, and they really know their stuff. And I thought it'd be great to get another perspective of how they might speak to hashtags, because I know what I would say about them all day, every day, but it's great to have some other perspectives out there. So if you have questions about smart campaigns, I encourage you to drop them into the chat, and we will go go from here. We're just going to talk about hashtags and why I should use them. Why do they benefit me? So, Kelly, how would you describe your use of a hashtag and how does it benefit people from using them in the system?
Well, you know what? I feel like at the very basic level, it's just a great way to categorize your leads. And, say what you will about organization, but everybody has a process of some sort. You may not even recognize that it's actually a process, but we all tend to compartmentalize things, right? And so having your leads organized in a way that's meaningful to you is just a great way to stay on track with these leads. And it also helps kind of create that building block or that foundation for how you're going to work them in the future. So for organization, it can't be beat. I mean, like you said, as far as having everything in an individual file folder, that's great but to me, it's more important, how am I going to work this lead? And I don't know if you want to jump into the KV Core platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you pop over to the Smart CRM and you're looking at it from just a big picture view, these leads are, leads can fall into lots of different categories. And that's great, but it all comes down to how are you going to approach your communication with this lead. So depending on what is, in your business right now, maybe you're working with investors, maybe you're working to create a niche. And this is such a great way to organize your niches, but also events, also working lists like newsletters. Everything kind of starts with these hashtags that can help you build out how you're going to work your leads. And Brett, I know you speak really well to the filters and some of the ways to filter and create some saved working lists. Would you maybe share a couple how you might create a filter using a hashtag to really approach, getting some best practices down for the agents?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, and well said. I would also give my kind of like my overview, and I like to introduce hashtags. And Kelly and Annalisa, they nailed it in that. For me, it's really your label system that you can run KV Core your way, because as you get to know the system, you realize, well, I have to fit them in these two buckets. And our two buckets are status and type. Status and type there's a thread of those two things through the whole system. So once you come to terms with that, and what I mean by that, we have status, it's a sphere, it's a prospect, it's a new lead, it's a closed, etc. And then we have type, it's a buyer, it's a seller, it's one of my vendors, maybe I'm trying to recruit agents. We have to come to terms with that and fit them in those buckets. But where you come into play is, okay, I got that. Now I can start to organize, label my system my way. And hey, Annalise, would you do me a favor and scroll on down to the bottom of this presentation? I know that we've all been adding some hashtags there, and I like to see them.
Yes.
I think that'd be helpful.
Awesome. Oh, this is great. Yes.
That it really can be anything you want it to be. The things to remember about hashtags are we don't need the symbol when we add them. That gets added after the fact.
I only put them in there for just as a reference, so you knew that those were the actual lists. But that's a big key point, especially in when you're creating them, because if you do happen to add a hashtag, you now have to use that hashtag everywhere. So you just don't need it. You just don't. Keep that in mind. Sorry to interrupt, Brett.
No, please. This is what it's all about. I love it. Different perspectives, as Annalisa mentioned, and so we can all benefit from that. Thank you. So got it right. So no hashtags, they get added after the fact, no spaces, and we just need to have at least 4, right?
And I was told that they can't start with a number. Is that true, Annalisa? They can't start with a number, and they have to be 4 characters.
We do recommend they don't start with a physical number because the system will automatically assume that is a listing from your MLS.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
It's important to try not to confuzzle the system with that. I haven't seen a big issue happen there, but it is a good practice to have, 4 characters minimum. Do not start with a numeral, no spaces. Those are like your 3
So if you're doing, for example, like all your buyers from a listing that you have at
Mhm.
123 Main Street, and you wanted to call it 123 Main Street Buyers, maybe just flip it around and say Main Street Buyers and put the address number at the end if you want to.
Great
Right.
points. I would add to that though, on top of all that, recommendations, best practices from us. You'll notice I put one down there, 3 to 6 months. It doesn't mean you can't use it. Okay, this is
Right.
and Annalisa makes a good point. Over time, when we create these hashtags, I believe there's a feature request, so you're going to be able to control that. But for the moment, you put it in there and it's going to stay in there.
Yeah.
So that being the case, just keep that in mind. If you wanted to, you could address and put an address in as a hashtag, but all the points, and I agree with them, it just keeps it a little cleaner. I will write them out quite often.
Mhm.
So if it's 1-2 Main Street, maybe I spell out,
ONE.
ONE, TWO, and I'm getting the same thing. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I want to put that out there, that what you think works best for you on how you want to organize and find your leads and do something with them. That's number one. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, number two is what Kelly had mentioned, kind of the magic bullet. Once you become familiar and comfortable with organizing your leads, contacts, clients with hashtags, you call them what you want to for whatever reason you have, then you can start to automate follow-up. And then it becomes kind of second nature. And the two biggies that I think we should all think of are the smart campaigns, our drips, and automated search alerts. You can
Mhm.
really
Huge.
simplify when you start doing lead generation. And if you hashtag everything you do with the thought in mind of, well, today my featured properties are going to be just listed pics in Carlsbad under $1 million with a view. And I want to send everyone who clicks on this ad properties in Carlsbad with a view, with that price range. And then I don't have to think about it. They click, this is already set up for me. And it's easy to have one of our default campaigns trigger by a hashtag, but remember, it doesn't have to be complicated. I've done some classes where the ask might be, okay, I'm going to do this just listed homes in Carlsbad, California, and there's price range. I'm triggering a search alert, but maybe I just want to send you one email and one text specifically about what I'm offering my just listed properties in Carlsbad. So maybe it's like, hey, I'm going to start sending you properties. You write that email, you write that text, the hashtag then triggers it. So that's like next level stuff. But for all of us, as you're coming to terms with it, just think about call lead what you want. So your question, Kelly, you had said smart CRM filters that I might use. What great examples throughout the year would be, I like newsletter, I like holiday card, and I like just browsing. These are three that we can facilitate with our scheduled mass emails later, but also we can use our mass email and mass text in that smart CRM. So I might filter and say, show me everybody that I've ever hashtagged just browsing, right? And then
So
maybe I want to reach out to them. And I use just browsing as a big one because to me,
yeah,
Yeah.
that I think that's great because
I call
although
them tire kickers. I have tire kickers as my.
but they're going to buy a car, right, Kelly?
Yeah,
Ultimately,
that's
they're
right.
going to buy a car, and
That's
I
right.
want to be the one that gives it to them. So browse all you want, my friend.
That's right.
Kind
Everybody
of thing.
starts at some different stage in their process. Everybody. And there's a lot of agents out there feel like, the leads that they get should all be low-hanging fruit. And that's just not the case. They take some time. And so when you're configuring and thinking about these hashtags, think about what your long-term plan is. That's why I put in a couple in there based on seasons. If somebody I'm talking to says, Kelly, I'm really wanting to be a buyer, right? I'd really like to buy my home. I'm tired of renting, but I'm not going to be able to scrape up the down payment until I get my taxes back, until I get a pay increase, which happens in July. So I'm thinking about buying in the fall. Well, even if you just break down a hashtag based on seasons, fall buyer 2021, spring buyer 2022, things like that. Well, what do you think you're going to do come, August and September? You're going to start pulling up that list of those people that have told you they want to buy in the fall. They're thinking about it. So think about how you're going to work these leads. That's really the key to it, is how are you going to approach this and work those leads?
So let's circle back and just talk about how, like, because we built a squeeze page here for Carlsbad just listed, like I was trying to walk through it as Brett was speaking to it. And so if I wanted to take this hashtag and then set up a triggered alert, where would I go to do that within KV Core?
So you're going to start over in the marketing autopilot
Okay,
to
so
create
really,
a
so really you either copy your tag or write it down or remember it.
you know, as far as naming conventions and organization, it might not be a bad idea for you to have a master list of your hashtags, just so that you keep your naming convention down. Side note,
Yeah.
if you're going to use plurals, make sure you're being consistent in them.
Yes.
So if
Yeah.
you have like investor, don't start using investors because you're going to create two separate lists. So whatever your naming convention is, stick to it. It's either all plurals or no plurals. That's
Gotcha.
a big deal for me.
Yeah,
So
I did that
yeah.
to myself once.
Oh yeah, you start creating duplicate lists.
Yes. So we need it. But well, my point is like my memory, I've got so much on my mind all the time. I forget what the hashtag is by the time I get there sometimes. So
Right.
I
And
like to
since
like
there
write it down.
exactly, and since there is no master list in KV Core, and we don't know why you created that hashtag, you might want to add a Google sheet of all your hashtags and what
Yeah.
they mean to you. So if you come up with some obscure hashtag for a unique, maybe a community event that you're doing, you know, keep track of why you're keeping track of those people. So that's not a bad idea. But anyway, to your point about search alerts, go over to marketing autopilot and then go into search alerts.
Okay.
And then down to where it says create alert, you're going to click on that green button. And then you're just going to walk through the hashtag. So you'll choose your hashtag, Carlsbad just listed. Okay, remember, all one word. And then you're going to literally set up a basic search alert, just kind of the same way you do when you're setting up a search alert. Draw it on a map, use that geographical areas other than MLSs, or use the location that's already in there. Set it up. I like to set it up based on, you know, obviously what they were looking at, but let's talk about frequency for a second, because I think that when you do a squeeze page, and you know, maybe you disagree, or maybe you have some thoughts on this, Brett, but when I do a follow-up search alert, I really try to keep in mind things like email fatigue. I don't want to be sending too much stuff to these people, especially if I haven't gotten a hold of them. So I don't usually set them up to go out ASAP. I don't even usually set them up to go out daily. What I try to do is set them up to go out like twice a week, so that I'm not creating email fatigue for this person, because I really don't know what their intent is yet. And so until I get a hold of them, at least I'm sending something that's relevant to what their original search was, but maybe try dialing it back to like twice a week until you get a hold of them, and then go back in and set them up on a more accurate search alert that's really fitting what their needs are, if any, or adjust the frequency then. Would you agree, Brett?
Well, I have kind of a different perspective. I totally, you know what I love about KV Core is it doesn't have to be any one way. And since agents have a wide range of expertise and strategies of how, you know, what they want to do. For me, it kind of depends, because in Carlsbad, especially around here coastally, things are going to go under contract in 3 days. So when
Huge, yeah.
not always, but if it's well priced in the right area, these kind, you know, what we'd all expect for, you know, the proper pricing. But so I have a guy that's looking here, and when I first started getting showing him properties, I had it a little more conservative like that, like you said, because I didn't want to bug him out with all my emails. So what would happen is he'd see one the twice a week, and then he would say, "Hey, what's going on with this one? Talk to me about this one." I'd go check it. It's pending. So that happened to me again and again. So then I changed mine to ASAP. Now, what I also, for that guy, and my point being that it depends. I know something about him, to Kelly's point, and I can, you know, gauge that. For him, ASAP just listed, got to be right now, and we got to be ready when he's ready. But other folks that I don't know about, I take an angle of, if I have the info, meaning it's a lead I generated, maybe they clicked on one property, maybe two, and I have something to go on. I'm really big on overthinking search alerts, because it's how I won my first deal. And I think that any conversation is a good conversation.
Well, that's
even
the
if,
point. That's the
right,
point. You've got to have a conversation with them.
even if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So like I will say, you know what? I'm thinking this guy wants a pool. And not only am I thinking that he wants a pool, I think he wants a 2-car garage and I think it will be this big. And I'll get very specific. Then I'll set the alert. I'll look at how many results I get before I send it. I'll set it and I'll say, now that one right there is giving me on this day 2 or 15 or whatever it is. And so I'm looking for a solid number. If I can get something 5 to 10 in there is where I like, then I will go more of the strategy, Kelly, that you were talking about of I'm hitting them, but I'm kind of specific on when I'm hitting them because I know they're not going to look at 50 properties in the 5 emails I send them every single day of just listed,
Yeah.
kind of thing like that. So
Well, that's
you
where
can,
knowing your market comes in too.
amen to that. That's a good point. So I would say both. I agree. And then there's another way to look at it, depending on who you're working.
Love it. Different ways to skin a cat.
And it kind of gives you that sense of, when you have delved into embracing squeeze pages, some people get a little daunted initially because it's different, it's new. But I think after you get a couple of those under your belt and you get that hashtag idea down, popping in here and creating a search alert at the time adds maybe another 30 seconds to a minute to that task. So under 5 minutes, you can create a squeeze page link, add it to your social media, and create an auto-assigned search alert. And you'll have the system working harder for you, and you don't have to work hard. You're working smarter. So it is a big time saver. And then, you can always finesse those listening alerts per contact going forward as you develop that relationship, which is fantastic.
So Rich is asking, can hashtags be deleted to help refine and clean up the database?
I believe they can via the super admin, or the company admin, right? Or have they recently updated that?
I know that that's a feature request that is coming, that the user can delete that. At this point, if it's really bugging you out, I believe you can go contact our support. I don't even know if the admin can do that. And then we can do something for you if it's just stopping you and blocking you from moving forward. But that is coming, Rich. I know that one, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that's a pretty big feature request, and it is coming.
Yep. And I think the other thing you can do is, on an individual contact, you can always delete it off of that person. And then also the opposite of that, if you're in your smart CRM and like Kelly and Brett were speaking to a moment ago on using your filters, let's say you identify all of your Junction City people or Grovetown or a specific area. You can find people by hashtag in here really easily. You open up your filter, and of course you can choose the status. Maybe you only want to see your new leads and active leads or everybody. But if you go into contact details here, this allows you to further delineate your results and kind of make them more finite. So you can say, of these types of statuses, I only want to see buyer or seller. But this hashtag section is where you can get in here and be like, I want to see everyone who came in via my squeeze page on the 20th, or who were responding to Plant City calls to actions, or maybe it's a newsletter list for a building, or Carlsbad reduced property. So you can click on these hashtags and scroll to the bottom and click apply filter, and then you'll see everyone on a list. I don't know what I'm going to get here, but we'll see. Okay, nothing. That's all right, because it's a test database. But basically, you're going to be able to see the filters applied here and be able to apply a filter to everyone in that list. So, let's just say the list is going to come up here as the people we want to apply a tag to en masse. We can just click this little button here at the top left to choose them all. If you want, you can also expand your rows from 50 people on that row to 250. But then you can go into your mass actions and add a hashtag to everybody.
So this is pretty cool if you've imported your leads recently and you're like, darn it, I wish I would have known about those hashtags. I would have hashtagged them in advance, because that is something you can do if you're importing lists. In the notes section of your import sheet, you can add your hashtags so that they're pre-labeled for you. So keep that in mind. If you've got some lists that you need to ever upload, you can pre-hashtag them. But if you forget or you don't do it, just go into the more actions and add them in bulk here.
Yeah.
You can do that very easily. And so let's talk a little bit about those filters for a second, Annalise, if you don't mind, because one of the strongest uses that I have for hashtags is working my farm. So let's talk about working your farm for a second. And that farm is your geolocation, that group of homes in one certain location that you are focusing your marketing attention to. In my example, I use my own neighborhood that I live in. Okay, it's called Vintage Reserve. So I have some hashtags that I use that are focal points for my neighborhood that I live in, my market, right? Because I live here. I've lived here for 20 years. I know everything about this neighborhood. I know what all the floor plans look like. I know what I know the houses that have granny suites in them. I know all that stuff. So I have a couple of hashtags that have been really helpful for that, and it's based on the subdivision. So I call them Vintage Reserve homeowners. I have a hashtag Vintage Reserve renters. Those are people to market to that might want to buy someday. I have Vintage Reserve non-owner occupieds. Who are those? Well, those are the people that bought those houses as investors. Okay, so even just taking a targeted geographic area and then creating a few hashtags so that you can focus on them is going to be really helpful for you. So if you have, I think I put it in there. That's why I put my farm. Those ones down there that say my farm.
I did. I
Yeah.
was looking for Vintage Reserve, and I'm like, oh, I don't see
Sorry.
it. So I'll just type it.
I
No, it's
put
okay.
Yeah, anything I put that is in bold, it's like insert your own.
Gotcha.
Insert your own name there. That's why I put it in bold. Same thing with like those sports. You know, that's a great group to target is people based on things that they're interested in. You know, sporting sporting fans, things like that. But I have like my farm homeowners looking to buy in my farm renters, non-owner occupieds, things like that. So what would I do with that list and how would I filter it? Well, if I have those people and a lot of those people are in my database and I'm communicating with them regularly, trying to encourage them to use my website, well, if I'm going to work that list, a great way to filter them out is based on maybe the last time they looked or were active on my website or the last time I communicated with them. So maybe give us an example of that, Annalisa, how you could use the smart filters to set up a saved filter so that you're working that list regularly.
Sure. So what you basically do is you pop into your filters right underneath where it says Smart CRM. And this is where you can get into different types of behaviors of a contact. So let's say you want to see all of your new leads, all of your active leads, or everybody. You can leave it blank and just choose everyone. But you can go into behaviors here. And you can say, all right, well, I want to see everyone who does have alerts or does not have listing alerts set up. And the cool thing about this is when you set these up for listing alerts, market reports, or campaigns, or any of these, anyone in the future from today forward after you set up this list is going to fall into that bucket if it's like the others. So this is going to be a proactive thing you can set up now and have it working for you in every day in the future.
So if you do have a farm, setting it up based on things like for all my investors that live here in my farm, right? Those non-owner occupieds. And by the way, you can get those lists from your title reps. They should be giving you those lists. You can set up a list of people who are non-owner occupieds that don't have market reports. I want to make sure my investors are getting market reports so they can keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on in the neighborhood, right? So, or I want to set them up on listing alerts so that they can see all the active properties that are coming up. Because remember, I can draw that polygon search. So I can do a polygon of my neighborhood and make sure that those people are getting search alerts for any properties that come to the market in case they want to buy them. I've already got one here, right? Maybe they want to buy another one. And I think don't let them slip through the cracks.
One cool aspect here too is if you're going to build a dialer list, you can go like, have they responded to me via phone? Do I want to add them to my dialer list? Am I going to send out a mass text? Have they responded to text or emails? So you can even get down into how these people respond to mirror how you are going to communicate with them, which is really handy. You can also say, well, I want to see the list of who's saved a property within this group, or when were they last active on my site? Do I need to give them a little bumperoo to invite them back to my site to use it? So you have all of these options, and then you can go down here and save a filter. And you can just call this like needs market reports. Maybe this is your farm that needs a market report.
Yeah, that's a good one. My farm that needs market reports, because you know your lists are always going to be ever growing and ever changing. That's the thing you need to remember about that, the hashtags, that they're lists, and sometimes you take people off the list, sometimes you add people to the list. That's and with my farm that's especially true because I'm always updating it. People move out of the neighborhood, I take them off, or I move them to a different list. People move into the neighborhood, I add them to the list. That's kind of the beauty of having a farm that you know and that you work really well, is that you become very, very intuitive with that list. So to me, that's my farm list. My hashtags for my farms is probably secondary only to my referrals that I get, people that I get referred business to. And those are also good hashtags. So to have a list of referrals, referring agents, out of area agents, things like that.
And across the top, you'll see there's different types of examples of lists you can make. Like I always thought it was important to have a newsletter list. So when you're ready to create your newsletter via the advanced marketing, the advanced scheduled emailer, you have your newsletter list set up. Maybe you want to find people who are new and active and make sure you get those smart campaigns set up. Or maybe you want to have a list of people you want to collect birthday details on. You know, you can
yeah, that's a
create
good
these
idea.
for anything.
I have one called, I put it on the list there. I called it my Red Door Club. You know what that is, the Red Door Club?
I don't.
Well, there's an old Scottish tradition that
Yes.
when you pay
Yes.
off your mortgage,
Yep.
that is that's a big deal, right? When you pay off your
Paint
mortgage.
your door red.
Right. So you paint your door red to let everybody know that you paid off your mortgage. So I call it the Red Door Club. And anybody in my farm that I have seen that has lived in that area for more than 30 years, I keep a list of that because your title rep can give you that information. You can see that through public records, how long they've owned the house. And I like to keep in touch with those people, and I kind of make a big deal out of it. That's a great way to stay connected with these people.
To pay
It's a
off your
huge
mortgage.
accomplishment. So, and plus, if they've been there for 30 years, they probably know a lot of people that can in the neighborhood, right? That they can refer business to. So having like a red door club, or a way to acknowledge those people in their farm that have lived there for a long time, that's a huge deal. If they've owned their home for 10 years or more, I call it the Diamond Club. If they've lived there for 30 years or longer, that's usually when they're paying off their mortgage. I call them the Red Door Club. So acknowledge those big accomplishments for people in your farm and use the hashtags as a way to keep track of them. That's my spin. And I'm a big person. I believe in farming.
Well, yeah, and these are all real important aspects to just keep track of in general, because it helps you. It lends itself to yourself being thoughtful in your communication with a contact, and it's more authentic.
Sure. So that's kind of the key to the whole key to these hashtags anyway, is being authentic and using them on a personal level that means something to you. You may not use the Red Door Club. You may use, you may work with people that are, first-time home buyers, people only looking for new construction, people who are needing a little credit repair, things like that. Those are a great way to keep track of those, because guess what? If you have a lender in the platform, somebody who's your trusted partner, you might want to hashtag them so that you can connect with your lender. I have one in there called Larry the Lender. That's my example, Larry the Lender. So if I'm referring out business to Larry the Lender, and maybe I'm constantly sending him business, I would hope that Larry the Lender is sending me a few leads as well, right?
Right.
So even if he's not a preferred lender in my platform, I'm going to keep track of all of the people that I referred over to him by adding the hashtag Larry the Lender. So that when I'm having a cup of coffee with Larry the next time I do, I can pull up a quick list and go, hey, Larry, it looks like I've been sending you about, 10, 20 leads this last couple of months. Have you, do you know anybody looking to buy or sell? Sometimes you have to have that conversation.
And I think what lends itself to that as well, when you're communicating with your lender, is you can tag on, that's what I call it, tagging on the fly when you're making a note while you're typing and using hashtags. So you could just be like a note to yourself, like talk to Xander, has a hashtag VA loan. And the system's going to bring up any of the hashtags you already have built and say, well, which one of these do you want to use? So when I typed in the V, it said, well, you already have these in here. Which one do you want? Well, I want VA loan.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Annalisa, but this is the only place where you really put the #.
Correct.
And if it's a brand new hashtag, one that you've never used, you can actually use it as a way to generate a new hashtag.
Yes. So if it's brand new, like maybe I have a hashtag and I'm like Battleground High School. So when I put in the B, that's not there. But if I just type it in,
It's going to create it for you.
and then you'd be like, needs house near Battleground High School. So you can add these in here. And then you can also, if you have your lender connected in KB Core, you can be like, yes, I want to copy my lender on these notes. And what this will do when you add it, it's going to swoop in, grab a copy of these notes and email them directly to your lender. So then they have this shared insight so they can carry the conversation over with these little tidbits of information to let the contact know that, yes, you do communicate with each other. You have shared information. We're here to work for you. The other neat thing is you can pin these to the top just by clicking yes and then add note. And what you're going to see is VA loan right here and Battleground High School land right over here along with the other hashtags they have. So we're going to click add note. And then you'll see our custom notes here at the top pinned. Our tags have landed over here. And then going forward, as you learn more information, you can click this little pencil and edit the notes and add in other information you may want to keep track of. And it's just
I love
top
that
of
pin
mind.
to the note, the
It's
pin to the
great.
top. I use that all the time for my really important conversations because I don't want it to slip through the cracks. So if you have it right there up at the top, then you can just kind of, change it and update it every time you're having a conversation. So, and you
Yeah.
notice when she did use the pound sign on that battle, what was it?
Battleground High School.
You notice it didn't
Home of the
actually add that.
Tigers.
There you go. You notice it didn't actually add the hashtag when it ended up showing up on under the hashtags.
Right.
It's
The
just a way
hashtag's
to
what
get
tells
it in
the
the system.
system. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is like, oh, that's a hashtag. I recognize that. Out it goes. But these are super easy. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I just wanted to take just, we'll call it here a pro tooltip here on the side about lenders. If you didn't know, you're listening to this recording or you're here with us now, that it doesn't cost you to add a lender to the system,
Right.
right? And they get their own login to the system. So if you weren't quite making that connection, that's the idea. And it's something that I think that this company can do better on, and we are definitely working on, is some kind of automatic way when a lender is added by a KV Core admin to the system that they're notified. But anyway, that's just me personally. And,
no, that's good insight because I'm reminding people of that daily when I do my KV Core setups. And for those of you that don't know, you can, if certain brokerages, I mean, EXP says you can add your KV Core support and we'll add your lender. But generally speaking, when you want to add a lender, you need to contact your admin of your brokerage and they will get that lender added, hopefully. When they're added, you need to go in and click on your name on the upper right and go into your profile. And there's a couple of steps you need to take here. You can go into edit profile and down this left-hand column, you can choose your lender right here. So you can choose the new lender, your lender that you had it to be here. And if you want them to show on a finance tab on your site, click this little button right here and fill in that little checkbox. And that's going to create a finance tab on your website with that lender's information, and then click save. So go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I would add one thing just because I put a small little flame of a fire out this morning that someone had a lender, an agent, someone agent, and I had seen it out there in a chat that, hey, how can they get their image added to the website? So Annalisa just said you get that finance tab on your website that will appear. It'll have their information, but let's remember that information doesn't magically appear with the side from their name and
I gotta
email.
get reconnected to this website. I forgot I was disconnected.
So just keep in mind that what they'll need to do is, number one, some folks forget that they have to let the lender know you've been added to the system. 1, 2, the lender has to go in just like you, the agent, have to go in just where Annalisa was in her profile. The agent, or excuse me, the lender also has that profile. And right there is where they upload their image that will show on your site and make sure that they have the right link. I've seen that not been thought through either, that someone goes, I am interested in how much I can afford, and they click and get started, and then where does it go? So those two things are a big one, of the image for the lender, a little about
Right.
me, and their get started link. So think that through and make sure, because the lender, no one's going to let them know. And finally, and thank you, ladies, there is training in our learning portal for lenders specifically. I believe we have 3 courses, won't cost them a dime. So that
Right.
will really, help them know how they can help you and themselves, because it's a win-win all the way around. So thank you.
And
And
yeah,
on,
while we're
to that, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and speaking to that, when you go into the learning portal at the bottom left of your dashboard, which I've been having issues with mine, so I apologize. But basically, when you jump in there, there is a course for you, the user, to take. It's pretty short and sweet, but it allows you to kind of think about, how would I present this to my lender to get their buy-in, to show the partnership we can have, so they'll want to use KV Core. So it gives you the tools and the statements to speak to on how they could use it. And then there's separate training for the lender themselves that speaks to how they can use it. And that marries with a weekly webinar for them to attend, to ask questions and so forth with a trainer. So it's designed to be all encompassing for the communication between you and them, and so they can leverage it to be successful in their lending business too.
And
would add-
if at the end of the day, circling back to hashtags,
Yeah,
if you
no,
don't
that's good.
have, yeah, if you don't
Keep
have a
us on track.
hashtag, I know, if you don't have a lender in here and you just want to keep track of your lenders that you use, or any other trusted service providers, right? Your
Mhm.
electricians, your plumbers, your architects, your landscapers, your attorneys that
Yes.
you work with, those are all individual hashtags. I'll give you a perfect example of how I used one. This is a true story. I got a call one time, and it was like, oh gosh, it must have been about 9:30 at night on a Saturday, from a client who had closed on a property that I sold her about a month earlier. And she was frantic because her a pipe had broken, and she was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to turn off the water, blah, 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 blah. And so I went to my KV Core, and I had a hashtag of all the plumbers that I had kept track of, that I had used over the years. I had probably a dozen of them. And I
Mhm.
just sent out a mass text, and I said, hey, I am in desperate need of a plumber. Are you available right now? And I had, believe it or not, I had somebody text back and said, yeah, I'm available 24 hours. Do you know what a rock star that made me look like for my client to be able to say, I got you a plumber, he's coming over in a half an hour, done.
Yeah.
That was huge.
And that is huge. And I think one thing, just as an aside, when we're speaking about trusted partners, is you can build custom pages on your website with a directory of your trusted partners as well.
And you should. I
Yeah.
call it my I got a guy list. I got a guy for this. I got a guy for this.
So that's
Yeah.
a super handy thing you can do. A guy, a buy.
If I may, Bob had a question and I'd like to address it, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Hey, Bob, you'd asked everyone, can you add more than one lender? And at this time, you cannot, unless you are an administrator over an office. Okay, so if we're an agent, you can add just one preferred lender. I do know this is a feature request. I do not have an ETA for you when that might be available. So what can we do about that? It's super easy. All you would have to do, now I'm going to high level these steps for you, and I won't go into them right now, but trust me when I tell you it is quite easy. We would create a custom page on our website.
Yep.
We would create a new category called My Lenders, Preferred Lenders, Trusted Resources, something to that effect. On that custom page, you can easily put logos, images, videos, links to your lender's website with a write-up of them, and you can put as many there as you want, Bob. So you could put, your 5 preferred lenders, and literally you don't have to know how to write code. We have documentation just in our support portal that will help you, but support will help you along the way if you run into any, stumbles or hiccups with that, but it's really quite easy to
Oh,
do.
yeah.
So easy to
idea.
do. So yeah,
Great
I would
idea.
say
The only thing they're not going to get, Brett, is, as just as a reminder, is they're not going to get a
true.
a
Thank you.
dashboard, but
No,
At the
Right,
same time, you're giving
right.
them real estate on your website, and that has a
Mhm.
lot of value. And it doesn't mean that you can't create a workaround system of your own for sharing that lead with them outside of KV Core.
Sure.
This is a great alternative that will keep them connected to you, keep that relationship going, and that's what it's about when you have a lender on here is creating and developing that continued partnership to co-work the leads.
Mhm.
Great point,
And
Kelly. And just one more thing I'd add, and then I'll be quiet,
no, you're
is that
fine.
don't forget, agents, that you can have a strategy, not suggesting that you do or don't do anything. You know, I'll just disclaimer that, but I will say I have heard of and seen situations where the lender does contribute if they are to your marketing budget. If they do have the KV Core login and they are your preferred lender, and maybe you two come to an arrangement of, hey, you want to split monthly Facebook leads or something, that
Mhm.
that lender can be billed directly from inside real estate, staying within and aligned with the RESPA laws of compliance in this. But just know that if there is some money that could be exchanged too in a very positive way for both of you. So something to think about as well. So
It's an
sorry.
excellent point. And before we lose our hour here, I do want to make sure we just touch on a couple of different areas. You know, the hashtags as you build them in can also be used as dialer lists within your mobile app and dashboard. You can also go into your listings tab and send specific listings to specific hashtag groupings. So you could go into your listings tab and find specific listings. Maybe, you've gone into your filter, you found a few homes you want to send out. You can just choose them and click email or text. And then you can choose either individual groupings here, or you can go over here to more actions and email or text to hashtags right here.
So a good strategy would be to set it up, maybe time block some time, once a week or once a month to go into the filters and send out your agency listings or send out your listings. There's a filter for that. You can you could create that filter for my listings and just send a weekly or my agency listings, send them a weekly list. Hey, just wanted to keep you up to date on all the properties we have for sale.
Yep. And then you can adjust your rows if you want to. Use your little button to choose all, and then more actions, email or text to hashtags. The other section that's really groovy is in the lead engine, which we touched on with the squeeze pages and landing pages. They add themselves to those trackable elements of categorization, trigger listing alerts, or smart campaigns. If you're building in zaps from, say, Facebook leads or Google, you can have that categorization in there. And that all lends itself to your business analytics and your source performance. So this all ties in. If you go into your business analytics on that left-hand side, you'll see all sorts of amazing information in here. But when we look at source performance, this can give you an idea of, okay, they came from this source like Messenger bot or your direct website or something. But you can also add in an additional level of a specific hashtag to measure how that's going. What are my clicks for signups? What has come in the last 30 days from that particular hashtag? And you can also adjust your date range here. So there's all sorts of interesting ways you can look at this information. And it's not necessarily something you need to like jump into and do today if you're not ready, but I just want you to make sure you're aware of where it's located. So when you're interested, you can just jump in.
That's a good point. And Rich is asking, just to back up, and I'm just pointing it out here because I'm dropping it in the chat box. He wanted a link on how to add custom pages for those lenders. And so I popped in a link. And so Annalise, if you just want to grab that and put that in the doc so that everybody else can have it as well. I just put it
absolutely.
in the chat box.
And so everyone's knows where it's located. You're just going to go into your web and IDX on the left-hand side of KV Core. And then you've got your website content information over here.
It's super easy, actually.
Yep. And then you've got your custom pages. So here are a couple of different, I have some examples on my own page, but basically you can connect anything you want to, whether it's Google reviews or first responders programs, featured areas. just click new page. And then you'll name it like My Lenders.
My trusted service providers. There you
Yes,
go.
that too, right.
So tell them what the category does, because that's how you add it as a tab.
So the category is going to allow you to either have it in a drop-down menu or a specific tab across the top of your site.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Annalisa, but you can have up to 2 more additional navigation tabs. Is that correct?
Correct. So you have to choose wisely.
Choose wisely.
And then all you need to do is basically add in your information about your people. You can actually load a photo here. You can hyperlink information. So maybe it's like, Lucy lender, then you add their photo, and then maybe you've got a link to like get pre-qualified.
And if you are familiar with HTML and you want to add some fancy stuff, you can use the source code. I'm a firm believer in video, and that's why I like using video right there. There you go, getqualified.com.
And what I always recommend when you have the link in here, have it open in a new window, because then they'll still have your custom page open. It won't move them off of your page to go to the pre-qual or wherever you're sending them. It'll keep yours open and send them to the new information so they can come back to you really easily without hitting back on their browser. And then if you want to access the HTML, you're going to click this little greater than, less than symbol, and it shows you what's, this is actually what the code will look like on the back end of the page. But if you want to embed a video, you'll just go to like YouTube. And I'll just grab this one as an example.
Hey, I'm Talon, and this is Rumpus, and I'm going to show you how to start an online tutor business. Let's go.
Oh,
First, go to shopify.com and start a free trial.
Hold on.
Hit the mute button
Next.
on her.
Yeah. And then you click share. Just use this little symbol.
It's the same
Click
symbol that's
copy.
in KB Core.
Yep.
Yep.
And this will automatically copy for you. Then you can just go in here, drop it below what's already there, click save, and it's going to drop the video right into that page. So it's a real handy, pretty simple way to get information shared out to folks. And it lends itself to having your lender information. Maybe someone's like, hey, do you have a lender referrals or something? You can just send them a link to your page if you have more than one lender available there. Or maybe it's the fencing person or whomever. They can have the choices, but you'll have this pre-built content and keep sending them back to your page to get information, which is key. Anything to add, you guys?
Brett had to hop off real quick. He's got another webinar to move on to. So
That's right.
I don't. Lisa asked to remind her where to get the document and the recording for today's session.
Oh, let me grab the link for that again. I did link it out there, but then I think we were talking so much I forgot to mention I dropped the link into the chat. So let me grab that again. Because we got to the gabbins. All right, here we go. There's the link for everyone for this session. And then I'll grab the information on the custom page and drop it on there as well.
Do we have time to end the webinar by quickly showing everybody how to trigger a smart campaign to start with a hashtag?
Absolutely.
Because I think that's a great way to end. I think that's, to me, that's again part of the magic bullet, is to be able to use a hashtag.
Here we go. Yeah, absolutely.
To start a smart campaign.
So where are we heading, Kelly?
To the marketing autopilot where the smart campaigns are.
All right, so we're going to go marketing autopilot and then manage our campaigns. Okay.
So you're simply going to go, whether you're cloning a campaign and just restarting the logic to start for something else, you can do that. You can always create a brand new one from scratch. Whatever your poison is, choose your poison. So maybe just grab one to clone. We'll just add one to a library and then we'll clone it.
Okay, so I added the conversation starter for buyer leads in from the KV Core library. And now I'm going to go back into my own campaigns to find that. So it's right here. Okay, so we want to edit this so it kicks off with a specific hashtag. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go over here to edit.
All we're doing here by editing is editing the start logic. That's it. We're not changing any of the content yet.
Yep. So we're saying we want to start this campaign when the hashtag is
yada,
Nyack,
yada, yada.
or whatever it is. Yeah.
Now, it's
Renters
my
in
understanding
Oceanside.
here that the hashtag already has to be in place. You can't create the hashtag new from here. It actually
Correct.
has to be in place. So that's a little pro tip there. Make sure that if you don't have the hashtag created, put it on a test lead.
Yeah.
And Lisa says, just side note, says you need permission for that link that you dropped. We can.
Oh, well, I will get that fixed. Yeah.
We'll get that fixed, Lisa.
I always forget we've got that little guy in there. Oh, there you go, Lisa. Okay.
Wow, that even made a sound. Whoop.
I did. Well, you know, I'm like the Bobby McFerrin of IRE. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. So you've got your renter Oceanside, and then you can say next. And then you can say, yep, these are for buyers or renters or sellers. So they'd be renters.
The big part was already at the beginning. You just want it to trigger when the hashtag is. And the only thing to remember there is that the hashtag already has to be somewhere on a lead. If it isn't, go find a test lead, add your hashtag to it so that you can use that to start a smart campaign.
And then you can see over here that it says this applies to renter leads that are coming in only when the renter Oceanside hashtag is on there. So this is how you can create something that is unique for a specific type of situation and have it trigger based on that hashtag.
This is especially helpful when you're doing things like squeeze pages and landing pages, when you're trying to generate leads that are for a specific type of audience. Make sure you're giving them the same relevant content. Trigger a hashtag to start that unique smart campaign.
Yep. So I think we've covered all of those little juicy tidbits on how we can use campaigns and giving you some ideas on how you can start organizing your database and triggering different elements.
I always ask at the end of my webinars, I'm going to do the same thing here. Just real quickly, if you learned something new today, something that you can use in your business, you just give us a thumbs up or a yes, or let us know in the chat box. Did you learn something new today that you can use in your business? I'm just curious. Love to get that feedback from you. Always like to see if anybody's out there. We'll wait to see. If not, Bob says yes. That's good to know. Awesome. Thanks, Rich. Good feedback. I always like to just know if if any of the stuff makes sense.
That's great. Thank you for doing that. Well, everyone, I hope you had a great time today. Thank you so much to Brett and Kelly. And we're going to have a lot more information in the future being shared with our training team and getting input and different perspectives. And I'm super excited about that. So I hope you all have a great rest of the week. You can enjoy some beautiful weather and get to hashtagging, right?
Yep. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.